Hey guys, thank you for checking out Bucked Up. Just before we start, I would love if you'd hit the subscribe button, like, share the video. We have new episodes coming out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And starting in the new year, check out Wrapped Up exclusively on Vivo. This episode is sponsored by Exotic Roots Hydro, which I have to give a huge shout out to. They are a huge supporter of the podcast, and I'm really happy to be working with them. If you're ever in Rochester, New York, and you need to learn about any of your hydroponic needs, go to their shop. You can follow them at Exotic Roots Hydro on Instagram. Shout out their whole team. They have an amazing venue space. They're going to be putting on tons of events. Just make sure to follow Exotic Roots Hydro on Instagram. And if you're ever in Rochester, definitely stop by. Let's get back into it.
It was at this moment that he knew.
He bucked up.
Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you have fucked up.
My brother turned me on to Dower candy. I don't know, probably almost 10 years ago for Christmas. He got me Dower candy on record. And that's how I found out about Woods. And of course, Arm& Hammer is just like, that's my group. That's my jam.
They're
Those
amazing.
guys they're brilliant. Yeah, they're just
Well,
really
I
brilliant.
feel like an idiot because I've been a fan of you in Future Islands for so long, and then, of course, you put out the album with Kenny the same year as Billy Woods did, and so I listened to your album, and it took me years to realize you were the same person. Like I felt
That's
like
great. That's how I want it to be.
it was really funny because that's why like I don't get totally nervous before these interviews, but I was nervous to talk to you because like I'm a huge fan of you in many aspects.
Cool. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Yeah, that it's funny with the Kenny Segal record, it's weird to drop like your debut rap album at 35. And I think for that's like an ongoing thing for me, and kind of why I keep like Hemlock Ernst it's not really a secret, but I don't really promote it because I kind of a lot of people that know me within music or know my name, Samuel T. Herring, they know me as a singer of Future Islands or for some features here and there, but I started rap when I was 14. That's like what got me into writing. It's what got me into poetry, or I kind of was getting into poetry and hip hop at the same time at 14. And in like this, I'm in my parents' house right now, so I'm just like
I'm in my dad's house right now.
Okay, that's what's up. The parents edition of Bugged Up. No, it's like so I'm just like flooded with all of that's why I'm like I feel groggy. It's 11 o'clock and I'm like, oh god, it's the fucking memories, man.
I feel the exact same way, and I got my booster yesterday, so I was worried I was gonna feel shitty today, but no, it was great. It's funny that I am in my dad's house right now because I went to go see you guys in Boston with him, and
cool.
Yeah, and we got way too high off edibles, and we were like right in the front. And that's why I wanted to have you on, and I reached out to you in the first place because your performance was literally one of the most amazing performances I've ever seen. Like you go
Thanks,
somewhere.
brother.
That's why I needed to add. I just need to ask you, like, where do you go when you perform? Like,
I mean, it is like, I've done a million interviews, and they say, how do you perform so passionately? And it's just like, it's really simple. I think it all starts with in the writing process. If you're writing words that are really personal to you, that are coming from a place of pain or passion, or just of great feeling or of great thought, like digging into yourself. When you begin to excavate that again on stage in front of people, it's kind of it's a process of vulnerability, just like cracking into oneself. But I mean, it's also about going to that place. I think as a performer, I am trying to, from the early days, it was really about trying to go back into these really painful places, which seems fine at the time. And, when you're writing a song, first off, because you're going through some fresh cuts, it's easy to bring that out really raw on stage. And then you kind of, you kind of work through things in a therapeutic way with the audience. The audience is almost like your therapist hitting you up. Oh, what are you doing? And then And then I'm sorry, man, I got to mute my phone. So anyways, yeah, the audience is kind of watching you. You're going through it with them. You know, you're giving them a large piece of yourself. But then I feel like over time, you know, you don't, you know, when you're 5-6 years past the song, and you're digging into this place that you don't really want to go to again. You know, your anger is different. Maybe you're not angry anymore. Your sadness is different. Maybe you found peace in that place. It's a very different kind of process of like digging into that and choosing what you want to share, and or the songs change. Like we have an old song called Long Flight, which is about, you know, leaving away on our first US tour, and we were gone for 4 months, and then somewhere in the middle, like me and my partner kind of split up just because I was gone for 2 months. Then we saw each other for a few days in between, and then I was gone for another 2 months. And then when I got back, I didn't realize it, but the relationship was done. I was like, cool. So we're just it's just normal now, right? It's like, yeah. No, dude, what the fuck? I broke up with you like 2 months ago. Like, what? So anyways, like, but you know then Long Flight is written about this process of kind of like going off to chase a dream and realizing that you lost everything that was kind of holding you down in the process. You know, you're like, well, I have all this shit in order. So now I can go, because, you know, sometimes those people in our lives really help us. They give us the support, or they give us the power and confidence to go on. And then we lose them in the process. I'm going through that a little bit right now. In a surprise breakup, the corona breakups, man. It's watch out.
Man, that shit's sorry to hear that.
Nah, hey man, it's this life, just like figuring it out as I go. But you know, it's that song Long Flight, which is about this one person. You know, 5 years later, I'm going through a similar situation with another person, and I'm like, you know, and then I'm singing the same song, but the song isn't about this other person. And then you're and then you're like, why the fuck is my life like a terrible cycle pattern where it just like these songs? But I mean, that's the point, you know. It's kind of that's my goal in writing those songs is, you know, because even when you share something very personal, it is still universal, because we live in the same universe. Like we all experience very similar things. So I can tell something very very personal about the way that, you know, the way we sat across the table and passed a napkin back and forth, writing words, you know, drawing back and forth. And it's very personal to me, but there's like 100 motherfuckers out there that are just gonna be like, how did you look inside my mind and see through my eyes? And it's like, well, that's, you know, it's our universal experience. And yeah, but you know, so what I'm trying to say is like, you know, if you're writing those songs with that kind of with the respect to your craft, to yourself, and to your world, I think eventually it just comes out on stage in that passionate way. It's easy to reach out to people, but also, I mean, I can also give myself props. I'm just kind of like a badass on stage too sometimes.
You're like a rapper on stage, honestly. Like when I saw you perform
totally.
with Future Islands, you have, it's funny because this podcast was started because of a breakup. And,
okay.
At the beginning of quarantine, and it took off. And it's funny that it's not funny, but the energy you can use and put into something else is so important. But then the muse becomes painful. Like as a stand-up comedian, my whole thing is I want to tell something very personal to an audience and have them laugh and understand what I'm trying to go through. But then it's kind of like when people think it's just a silly joke, it's like, no, this is an actual, like, the muse came from a painful place. So I do understand what you're saying when you say that.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing that I'm a huge fan of stand-up comedy since a kid, and it's one of those things because I think you know, and maybe it's a grass is always greener thing, but I think in any of the performing arts, you know, whatever you are, you wish that you were like doing something else, or you respect something else more. Like to me, I respect stand-up comedians probably more than anything, because it's so naked, you know, it's so naked. And it's also like I haven't done a Hemlock set since probably 2012 or 2013. And that's because I just didn't enjoy that kind of naked process. I only did a couple shows where I was backed up by a DJ. Usually it was just me push and play on my, setting up my computer on stage and push and play for songs. But I missed that camaraderie, or just maybe it was just the power and confidence that, having your friends on stage with you, but I did a couple shows with Kenny DJing, and I did one show with Madlib DJing, which was bonkers. This is one of the craziest experiences I've ever had. And yeah, that definitely gave me more of what I'm used to in a live performance, which is just that, because for me,
why do you think why do you think you feel more naked performing rap than you do like when you're on stage really tapping into that place?
Because I'm a white rapper, and that's not, like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
That's like a thing. That's a thing of just feeling, so much of my art is based on those ideas of how we judge people based on what they look like. And I got a lot of shit coming into the spotlight with like the Letterman performance, which brought us to a lot of people's minds, like the first time they experienced us. And then so I'm dealing with the really, as a motherfucker that's in my head, I'm not reading all the good comments. I'm like just focusing on the people that are really focused on how I look. But that's kind of the thing, it's like, oh, okay, so I'm like, you see me as a middle-aged bald guy who's chubby, and how am I allowed to do this? I mean, that's the question. Like it just not, it's like, this hurts my brain because how can this guy do this? And then it's kind of like, well, that's the fucking point. It's like, I can do this because this is literally who I am. And I think we judge people a lot. I think a lot of people don't take chances because they feel like they don't fit the bill for those chances.
And that's like a part of rapping since you were 14. Like that is who you are. I feel that way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
I feel that way doing this. Like my podcast just recently kind of got somewhat of a push, like a good amount of views. And a lot of people are like, why is this nerdy white kid? I mean, I'm 24 years old and balding. I'm like, why is he getting these interviews, or why is he being able to be put in these situations, not knowing who I am, or like even listening to what I'm trying to say?
Well, it's also because you're grinding. And I mean, that's the big goal, like the key to so much of this. And I think a lot of the people, checking out your podcast, so many people you're talking to are just people that are grinding. You have to put in work to not only get an opportunity. Well, I mean, of course, there are people that get opportunities that have put in money. But a lot of people, if you put in the work and you get the opportunity, the work shows, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The work, like I had a teacher years ago that was extremely influential to me when I was 17. And, they just told me, you can fool the fans, but you can't fool the players. It's kind of like, it's like, you have to do the work if you really want to do something, and you might be able to make a buck, but you're not going to create the kind of impact that you can and get the respect from the people. I think to me is so much, I've always done this for respect. And so much of that comes from just, KRS-One is my teacher, it's just like, I'd rather be broke and have a whole lot of respect. That's like, that to me is the thing that is probably more of an inward, as a child, that's like some 6-7-year-old shit that I'm still working through. But it's very much like, I want to be accepted and respected for what I do and how hard I do it. And it's the point, you can't do it the same physically. Like so much of my presence on stage, well, maybe I give too much credit, but it is the physical aspect. But I think there's still there's a lot of things like and through hip hop, through rap, and it allows me a very different avenue of exploring my thoughts and feelings in a much deeper way than a pop format does, than a rock format does. It's hard to write a good rock song that you get 8 to 12 lines and a chorus, and you got to put a bunch in there. And in a hip hop verse, you can just sprawl out for days and really go into things. And they're very different processes. But it's all about just kind of wanting to be seen. I mean, really, to get to like the root of it, it's about trying to tell a personal story. And I mean, in the Future Islands world, that's where that MC comes into play. And I thought it was interesting you said that, because I think when I did that single with Madlib a few years ago, there were some press and interviews I had to do, and people are like, how does that come into play? Like, I don't see it. Like, I don't see hip hop influence in Future Islands. And it's like, literally, I just talk about my personal struggles, luckily my bandmates are amazing and let me just like cry over their music or whatever, or just like, tear myself apart through this. But that kind of, to me, that speaking about personal struggle in a very personal way, but like feeling strong in it, is like what hip hop taught me about as a kid, and it gave me a kind of a certain kind of armor against the world when I was really young, and trying to get some sense of self and sense of identity. Because I'm from small town North Carolina. I'm from a tiny place. There's no kind of culture that really speaks to, there's no record stores, there's no like show spaces, there is no way to get to it. So like getting into underground hip hop at a young age it made me an outlier, you know what I mean? And so that's part of
the same way.
I guess that's part of identity too. Yeah.
How long have you been grinding nonstop? Like, have you been grinding nonstop since, I don't know, have you been able to take a break?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've been on break for a little while now. I mean, the last couple of years have been so ridiculous, just not being able to do anything. Future Islands is a touring band. We're coming up on almost 1,300 shows as a band. We're at like around 1,270 now.
That's insane.
Yeah, and
congratulations.
And that, yeah, I can still walk. Congratulations. I still have a voice. But yes, I mean, Future Islands had years 2008 to 2012. Those 5 years we averaged like 150 shows a year, and that was really us coming from a band that was 2008 to 2009. We're just like playing for peanuts around the country. Those kinds of tours where you just make $50 a night to split up amongst the band. You're not splitting money. You're going, you're setting up, you're playing a show, you're getting $40-50, you put it into the gas tank, everybody gets a Subway 5 foot, sorry, there's no buzz marketing on the show, $5. But yeah, you just like, could I just put everything you have in that foot-long roll for $5, and you just like eat a soggy mess twice a day? You're just like, I'll eat the first half of my soggy mess around 2, and then I'll eat my second soggy mess, and just like that kind of shit. So yeah, I mean, those years, starting out, the first couple years, just slowly just making some impact, staying on the road. When you come around to cities every 3 or 4 months and you get posters put up, if you can get somebody to put up posters for a DIY show, then your posters kind of never really come down, and you're like, Future Islands just kind of lives in some like coffee shop bathroom, or like on on telephone poles for a year, and then if you just keep going, they're just there. So you just kind of become a part of people's kind of psychic mind, their subconscious mind. And then I think that's one of the reasons that so basically, yeah, we did that 5 years. Then we took a break in 2013 to write our fourth album, Singles. And then we had kind of but by that point, by the end of 2012, I made what my parents make a year. You know what I mean? Like playing 150 shows, being drunk with my friends, sleeping on people's floors. I mean, it wasn't like I had any expenses. I was just, other than putting gas in the van and stuff, I mean, we were just driving ourselves around.
The
still
reason I
selling
ask about the grind is because, like, you said you noticed that in me, and I noticed that in you, in the amount of work and different things you do, and it is for recognition, but then it's
Yeah.
hard to find that, like, peace and happiness.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that's a thing that is not ever external. I mean, that's the hard lesson that I've learned through time, is that peace and happiness doesn't come with external things. And that's a really fucked up thing to realize when you have worked so hard. Because I mean, okay, so in my trajectory, when we went out on the road in 2008, I basically, I lost this partner because I was chasing this dream. And it was really like, hey baby, just stick around and I'm gonna take care of us both. I just need a few years to do this. I know I can do this. And then she left in '08. And she was like, how many fucking years, Sam? Like, how many fucking years do I have to wait? And she's like, I was like, give me 5 years. We'd already been together coming up on 3 at that point. She was just like, nah, I can't, I can't just like not see you for 5 years while you're on tour, 8 months out of the year. And so anyways, 5 years later, we're making singles, which, another 6 months later, we would have this big break on Letterman and gain, everything just kind of leveled up like 3 or 4 times in like a month's time. And it was like, I could have given you the stuff that I said, and you're just like, it was basically like five years. But the thing is, like, so I found myself at 30 years old at that point. Like, Letterman was maybe a month or a couple weeks before my 30th birthday.
Wow.
And my goal in becoming an artist was just that I wanted to be able to support myself and make art. Like, I wanted to get to a point in my life that I could, when I got off the road, I didn't have to go work construction. I didn't have to go sweep floors, all the little things that I've done. And I could just make art. And I had gotten to that point. I had lost this person who was extremely impactful in my life, who I love very much. And in gaining all of the success in music, I don't, maybe success is not the right word, but gaining the goal that I had set out, I felt more empty. Like, I didn't feel completed. I felt like I chose a path. It's kind of like in 2008, I had 2 choices. I could either work on this relationship that brought me a lot of love, or I could go after my dream, which I knew that if I stayed in the relationship, I would be resentful of this person for a long time, because I didn't chase after the dream. And I knew that if I chased the dream, there was a good chance I would not have this person. And so I chose a path. I got to the end, and it was just like, well, I guess the gaping hole that I'm trying to fill is actually, sorry, that sounds really crude, is actually in myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it was, like
do you regret the choice?
No, because I mean, you can't. I mean, there's plenty of things I regret in my life, but those kinds of choices are, I wouldn't have learned. It's like I said, I already knew the end of the other choice, which is that I would not have followed. I would not have followed my own heart, and that would have crushed me in time.
But you knew that whatever choice you were going to make, it was going to be successful.
No, I did not know that. I didn't, no, I didn't know I was going to be successful. I believed in myself. I believed in my bandmates. And I think that if I hadn't done this, if I had done this by myself, I would have fucked it up. That relationship that I have with Garrett and William, the keyboardist and the bassist in Future Islands, goes back a long time. Garrett's my best friend since we were 14. William is like my first best friend I made in college. And, I introduced those 2 guys within a week of meeting William. And that relationship was something that has really pushed us through, gotten us through so much. And, it's that relationship is really important to me, but it's also hard, after all these years, you change as a person, your friends change. And so you have to constantly kind of re-up your friendship, even when you spend so much close time, to reintroduce yourself to these people. And it's the same thing as in any long-term relationship, romantic or friendship or whatever. You kind of,
I hope this isn't too personal of a question, but how do you make the band relationship last so long when like other relationships haven't?
Well, unfortunately, I mean, to be fair, it is that a relationship that is important as a friendship. But I think we've actually come close to stopping at certain times, because I felt like the band was hurting our friendship. And those are the kind of ultimatums, you know, I don't really think you should make ultimatums in your relationships or friendships, but those kinds of ultimatums I think are really important, which is like, I don't want to be in a band with you guys if I'm not friends with you guys. And I'm not saying like I want to quit because we're not friends. I'm saying like, if we're not going to be friends because of this band, because, you know, the band becomes business, you know, that's the big shift that happened in not necessarily 2014, but maybe the end of 2015 into 2016, was that, you know, the band kind of got bigger than us. You know, this thing that we had nursed from, you know, you could say 2006 to basically 2016, like over 10 years, we realized that we weren't really in control of it anymore. Because, you know, as things get bigger, you have to start ceding responsibility to other people. You need help, you know. You can't drive the big tour buses, you know. I can't drive that motherfucker. You're not selling merch after the shows. You need people to, so your crew gets bigger. You're back, you know, the people that you're managed, you know, you have management all of a sudden. You got serious label people, and all these people are good. They're part of your family, but I think when you grow a thing from the roots up, and I mean, you know, and we go back to 2003 with our first band, you know, all that work put in, and then you kind of see that you're not in control. I mean, so our fifth album we put out, we kind of felt completely out of control in the way that record was released and
in a bad way.
Yes, yeah, in a bad way. And a lot of people love that record, but I think it just is reflective of us not being connected at all. Like, we wrote that song really disconnected from each other. And after that record came out, we had a big like sit down, like, it can't do this. I know. I mean, I was the one who was like, hey, we have to talk, like, because I can't do this. Like,
and what
I
year
can't
was
not. The talk was at the beginning of 2017. I mean, it was probably actually a couple weeks before the record came out, and we already realized, like, oh, we fucked up. Like, we should have taken more time with this, but we just kind of like followed the business deadlines and what other people. We basically followed a lot of guidance to release that record. That kind of, it ended up just backfiring in the end. And so, like, making the last record, As Long As You Are, was, you know, it was the first time that we co-produced. We, you know, there was no compromising people's positions. It was just everybody has to be happy. Like everybody has to be happy with these recordings before they're out there. We have to, you know, come together and to speak. You know, it's kind of like, we really had.
Was that a difficult decision to make?
It was probably difficult for our label and our management. It wasn't difficult for us.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing, is like, hey, you guys, we're gonna take back the reins now. Like, you had your chance, and we love you, but we kind of got to do this. We kind of have to do this on our own, or else the band is at risk, because we really just felt at risk of losing everything we had worked for. And, you know, As Long As You Are is not like a record that we said, this is gonna catapult us to the top and these kinds of things. It was a very, very personal record, a record that experimented more so than we had in years. It really harkened back to where we were in our writing processes in like 2011 than it did to where we were in 2014 or 2017. Like, it was really us trying to go back to like the inkwell, back to, but that's a song we wrote. That's not what I'm talking about. Our internal inkwell, our like internal flame, and trying to just like a lot of, a lot of just conversations, not playing music, but trying to get back trust within each other. Because because all these things, as things get bigger, you also just have egos come into play. And no matter how good you are as friends, if egos are injured, then you have to repair those relationships. And so we just had a lot of conversations about where we were at in our lives, and kind of having to respect where where everybody was in their lives,
Yeah.
because you don't always understand what your friends are going through. And sometimes, like, we spend so much time together in touring years. We'll be together 200 days out of the road, and I'm not talking about I see you at the bar, or we can get a cup of coffee 200 days out of the year. I'm talking about we live in a steel shell that's hurtling around the world. We're like on a mission around the world together. And so you kind of think you just know what everybody's going through, but you don't. So you stop talking. So it's really like opening those conversations again. And as long as you are was really like the most we had communicated in years. And I think the closest we had been in years. And that's a continuing, at this point, it is a continuing, I don't know, goal or continuing conversation, to just try to keep those doors open before they shut. Because it's really easy. I mean, I'm a very, as open as I am on stage, I'm very, I can be very, I isolate a lot.
I'm the same way. It's funny. I almost don't want people to know me to see what I do. Like when people come up and say they've watched me, I'm always like, I feel like ashamed almost because I'm doing it for me. Like I'm doing this as an outlet. I want to spend all my time by myself. I have to, for my mental illness, get up on stage and spew my art out,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is like I said, there's a therapy in, and people are different. I mean, I know that what I do for a living is actually a symptom of my weakness as a human. It's like, but I've turned it into a strength. My weakness is that I am very self-conscious about how people view me. I'm out for respect and validation as a human being, but and so I should not be on a stage. I should be hiding. But the fact is, I get on a stage, and that's where I feel the most like, well, now I can tell you who I am. Yeah. Like on the street, I don't feel strong. On the street, I feel like just self-conscious about how I'm viewed. But when I'm on stage, I'm like, this is who I am, and I feel so strong. Like I feel confidence in that, because it's not only me sharing myself in a very raw way, and because I do, I'm playing with like gender norms on stage. I'm playing with what it is to be masculine, like what the fuck does that mean? And these things, I'm playing with just like that idea of what's beautiful and what's possible. And these things are really important to me, to push that and make people think, because it's something that cracks people open, when they say like, well, this motherfucker he can do this. He doing this. It's like, what is my possibility for my life? And if you can crack people open, then you can get them to see things in a different way. You can get them to communicate in different ways. You can get them to love in different ways. That leads back to self. So I think getting up on stage though, and speaking those things is really important for people. I mean, as you said, you're like, illness is the reason that you have to get on stage. It's similar. Yeah. Like I feel very similarly. But the hope is that you are, you're bringing joy to people, or you're, well, maybe your goal is to figure out who the fuck I am, well, and I guess maybe that is my goal a little bit too. What is possible?
I think that's it's you talk about like addiction at a young age, and like I went through like a bad drinking phase, and it's funny when you get up on stage and that feeling you're talking about, that like rush, that like that's better than any feeling. Like I think I kind of got over my addiction when I realized the power of like helping people on stage. Like that blackout on stage is better than any other feeling, and that is
Yeah.
that kind of like the two paths you can take for your addiction, like your mental health illness. I could go it and I could just party and be crazy and enjoy that, or I can harness it into something more positive to help other people and show that you
Yeah. Yeah.
can
Totally.
have that mindset and push forward.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking about addiction just the other day, just like as the like little deaths, I was heavily addicted to cocaine when I was in college, and I was a dealer and a fiend, and I had to just leave. I basically had like a mental breakdown one day and just left town. And luckily my parents were really fucking cool about it all, and helped take me in and helped me, or allowed me to just kind of detox at their house and get my life back together, so that I could just take a long enough break that I could handle the pull, the pull back. But even, like, I'm a smoker for 20 plus years now. I still like
Tobacco, like cigarette.
Yeah.
I'm three
I don't,
years. I just smoke weed. I'm 3 years clean of tobacco and nicotine.
oh, that's good. Sorry, I just like fucking smoked a cigarette in front of you. I'm about to
Oh,
do
I
it
don't care.
again.
If I wasn't in my
You don't
dad's house,
care.
I'd be smoking a joint in front of you. So
That's what's up. Yeah, no, but yeah, because I have all kinds of addiction issues, and that's something that I'm working on now.
that's
Through
funny that you
therapy and
talked
that type
about
of
the
shit.
grind though, because I'm addicted to the grind. Like that's a real addiction.
Oh
There's
yeah,
like an
oh
addiction to
yeah.
not stopping, like not pushing people away, but it's like shit. I don't even want to celebrate Christmas because I want to go grind. I want to go
Go
work.
work. Yeah. No, that's a bit. I mean, ambition is that's probably one of the most toxic things in my life is straight up ambition. And that's like the thing that has driven me to this point in my life. My ambition has given me a lot. It has helped me to achieve um successes within my art that I never really thought was possible. I mean, I guess I thought it was possible because I went for it, but at the same time, I don't think I knew the shape of what that meant, the shape of that outcome, but also that ambition, it takes me away from, like you said, like takes me away from my family, it takes me away from my friends, it continues to ruin my relationships, and because I don't know when to put it down,
Yeah.
I am constantly, I wrote and recorded a song yesterday in this room. You know what I mean? Like I have to be writing, and that kind of validation isn't is kind of like a future validation. Like it's more about myself. Like if I'm, and maybe it comes from my parents. They're 71 and still working every day. They're working today. It's about to be Christmas, and they just can't stop. And that kind of workaholic nature, I think, it's a really positive thing, but it's something that's hard. It can be really hard. I was just, I've been with my ex. We were together for 5 years, and I spent a lot of time with her family, and it really showed me a very different way of life. Her family was very connected, and really enjoyed just like having these long dinners and these kinds of things. And I mean, they also got, they had a good party most nights, lots of wine going around. And that's something that my family doesn't do, but food is more like of a function, and that's kind of how I treat it. But it made me really appreciate, her and her family made me really appreciate this allowing yourself to enjoy the kind of fruits of labor, the fruits of life, in a way that was very different than and that's something she said to me, like, I am concerned about you because you receive validation from, like, if you don't write a song on a Tuesday, then your Tuesday and your Wednesday are fucked up, and then you have to write again. And I'm like, that is so true.
It's true, because the chase of happiness never allows you to sit in happiness.
No, and it's kind of the same thing. Like I think we have I have trouble sitting within my anxiety. You know,
It's horrible. Yeah.
I need to, that's something I'm working on, which is, I don't know if I'm working on it yet, but it's something I'm meditating on or thinking about a lot, is like, how do I allow a negative feeling to feel a negative feeling and then not immediately just like smoke a cigarette, go to the bar, pick up my phone and scroll social media, order a fucking extra large pepperoni pizza. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
like how do I just accept the feeling and sit in it? But it's the same thing with happiness. You know, like happiness is terrifying because you're afraid when the happiness is going to go. You know, sadness is almost, I've had a long standing conversation with my friend and artist Dan Deacon, who's a Baltimore musician, an old friend. And, you know, we years ago, we're just getting in an argument. He said, you know, happiness is a stronger feeling. And I said, and, you know, and I'm like, no, sadness is a stronger feeling. I'm just kind of going into it. And I was like, happiness is fleeting and sadness lasts forever. but he's like, yeah, but wouldn't you rather be happy? And I'm like, yeah, good fucking luck. What's that like? You know, just kind of like this going back and forth, you know. He's like, even if it's for a moment. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I guess you do get snatches, but it's kind of like, why does it have to, I don't know why. And I'm like, why am I 23 fighting the battle for sadness? You know, like,
Yeah.
what kind of sick fuck artist am I that I'm like, nah, man, keep it sad. It's gotta
But
be
it
sad.
feels so real. Like I understand
of
that
course.
because it's like I don't feel happiness much. So it's funny when like someone described it as being the eye of the storm, like success is being in like the eye of the storm, where it's like everyone else gets to enjoy it more than you. Cause like any big milestone I hit or whatever, like you described it before about like, I don't know how you feel about like the Letterman thing or whatever it is. It's like, yeah, but what's the next thing? Like people might be
Exactly.
enjoying that forever. But for me, it's like, all right, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? I need to keep going. That's the addiction to the like grind and the hustle that will never bring happiness, but bring success.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, like Future Islands is like, we're a career band now. Like I made a living through Corona not doing anything. You know what I mean? Like just from just those royalty checks that have built up over years. That is a really great place to be. That is like the place you want to be, which is like, I can now support my life with, you know, this kind of passive income through all the hard work, you know, almost 20 years of working. And now in this time where I should be in a really bad place, I'm able to get by. And you know, that, because I always say like, there's no pension for aging rock stars. There's no like, you know, there's no like social security retirement plan for, you know, you got drunk every night for 20 years. You know, so you know, it was a comforting moment, but that grind, you know, it was something that it actually helped me a few years ago. Cause what I think it was Paul McCartney did a song with Kanye West, maybe.
Yeah.
How long ago was that? 4 or 5 years, maybe 5, 6
Yeah,
years?
like 5, 6 years ago, maybe.
And well, the whole thing is it was a big deal because the internet was like it was trending on Twitter, like, who the fuck is Paul McCartney? And then I was like, well, shit, like, what the fuck am I trying to do? I'm trying to be like Voltaire or some shit. I'm like, wanna, you know, like how who the fuck is gonna remember me? And if like people don't even know who the fuck Paul McCartney is. Like, you know, it's just like what are my chances of being remembered? So like this kind of ambition and grind to be like, I want to be remembered as this great performer and this great writer. And then it's just like, okay, I think you need to relax, bro. Well, I think your young Beatles days are past. I don't think you're gonna capture that one there, bro. Let it be.
Well, then how did you feel about having like a song blow up on TikTok or something? You know, like,
I mean, that's pretty wild.
Because that is a totally different, that is how it happens today. Like that probably opened you up to a completely different audience than like ever before and opened up longevity.
Well, the TikTok thing is weird because we actually had I've got two connections to viral TikTok hits because Future Islands did a remix for Fantagram in, I don't know, 2013 or 14 that then went viral on TikTok maybe a year and a half ago.
Oh,
and now,
really?
you know, yeah, it's, and the song is awesome. But the funny thing is I didn't do anything on that song. That's all Garrett and William. I think Garrett pretty much remixed the track and then William added bass. And I didn't do anything on it. He basically just took the vocal, Sarah Bartel's vocals and flipped it. And it's really dope. But so that song is now a crazy song, but we don't get any royalties from it because it's a remix. So we're just like, damn it. And then the other track was that
the bad not good one.
Yeah,
right?
the Vano 3000 flip of Time Moves Slow with Bad Not Good. And that's kind of a funny one too, because I don't really know, you know, I don't know how much it's done as far as getting people's attention onto me, because they're just like, who is it? What's a Samuel T. Herring? What the fuck is that? Because I mean, it's just me like, running away is easy. It's just like super hot. Like
that was crazy how perfect you just did the sped up version of that.
I know I should make my own version and collect all the checks.
That's so
funny. That's kind of, yeah, that's how I like meet children now. Like if I have to hang out with like a friend's like teenager, I'm just like, oh yeah, that's me running away. They're like, what? But no, it's just like those things are funny. But I'm waiting for the real Future Island song to go viral so we can cut a check or something. But no, I don't know. I mean, that's like a whole. I'm not really keeping up with what you're supposed to do anymore, and I don't have the grind to do that. So I'm pretty focused. You know, the last few years have actually been really good for me. And even what I'm going through now, I think I'm dealing with in a very, very positive way instead of the way I would have 5, 10, 15 years ago, because the last couple years I was able to get really grounded. And that's probably big part of that is just age and learning what you're capable of, what you're allowed to do. I mean, like I was saying with our 2017 record, it wasn't just, you know, when you take everybody's advice to do a thing, you're doing a little bit more in ways that you wouldn't normally promote a record, doing other certain types of press or just like lookbook shit and fucking press photos that I hate because it's just not representative of like who we are as a band. I still hate taking press photos, but if you live in a social media world, it's like bands don't even put out music. They just put out press photos like every day. Yeah. And I sometimes I think to myself, you know, I'll be going through moments of self-doubt and be like, you know, maybe I should just, you know, go to LA and just put in, you know, 5 or 6 years of work and, you know, get on everybody's shit.
Hey guys, this episode is sponsored by the podcast Woody Two Shoes, hosted by comedian Thatcher Wood. Other than being a really good friend, Thatcher is one of the funniest comedians and podcasters I know. Woody Two Shoes is available on all podcast platforms. It's a comedic podcast where he interviews a different interesting person each week, and they get into a bunch of different topics. You should subscribe to his YouTube channel too. At 100 subscribers, he's giving away merch. At 500 subscribers, he's giving away a PS5. That's right. Yeah, a PS5. So make sure you go subscribe to Woody Two Shoes on YouTube and follow Thatcher on Instagram at Wood Two Shoes. 2 is in the number. Wood Two Shoes on Instagram. Let's get back into it.
I can pretty much do whatever as a writer, as a singer. It's one of my strengths that I can pretty much be cross genre.
Well, 2017 is right when you started to like pick up rapping in the public eye, I feel like, or started to venture into the like public rap world, because 2019 is when your album came out. But you were working with like Bad Not Good and like Bus Driver, and shout out all of Ruby Yacht, because
hell yeah. Have you had Rory on here? Have you had
No, I haven't. I've seen him perform so many times. I'd love to talk to him because I'm from Massachusetts and I know he's up in Maine.
Yeah. Well, he's out in Nashville now, but he's a brilliant character. I mean, really, he is probably the reason I started writing again. Because of all the work that Future Islands did, grinding from 2008 to 2012. I kind of put down my rap pen, and didn't really write in that time period. And then at the end of 2012, we got off the road and I split up with a girl that I was writing with at the time. And I really wanted to write something. But the whole thing was, we'd been on the road for 5 years straight. We were all completely exhausted, just like pretty much burn out completely. And I was asking the guys, can we go in the studio and write some music? And they're just like, dude, fuck off. Like, I'm so tired. Like, I need to work.
The addiction to the grind. Yeah.
Yeah. They're both just like, I kind of need to go work on my relationship that I've been neglecting for years now. And I'm just like, well, I don't have one. So come on, like, I need to talk about it. So basically the guys were just like, dude, you need to, and this is old me. I used to be like this all the time. Just like, I need music. Give me music. And the guys were just like, dude, you got to figure some other shit out because we have to take a break. So I just actually started pulling up instrumentals on, because I'd also kind of wasn't like, I'd left I used to be a crazy freestyle MC, coming out of high school into college, and I used to do battles and shit. And I didn't win any, but I got close a couple times. I won some battles. I won no wars. I never won an award for, I never got first prize at any of these battles, but I got respect. And so I just started pulling up instrumentals. And it was actually the Captain Murphy that, it was a Flying Lotus project. And he'd put out, he'd put out the Captain Murphy instrumentals, and I just started writing, and I wrote this song called Macalicious it's never been released. I've performed it live a couple times, but it was all about Homegirl and me trying to get back, like where the fuck did my Mac go? Like I'm single again. And but yeah, that kind of like it made me start writing and thinking about that in that world. But I did a couple shows around that time. I just wrote up like 6-7 songs using stolen beats off the internet. And then sometime around 2014, after Letterman, Rory, Rap Ferrara hit me up through Twitter about doing a track.
Oh, really? He reached out to you?
Yeah, he reached out and was like, "Hey, I'm like you guys are dope. I'm a big fan, Sam. I've heard that you rap, and I'd love to get you on this track with my buddy Kenny Segal." This is how me and Kenny met, and it was for Souvenir on So the Flies Don't Come.
Oh, wow.
The Milo record from, probably that year, 2014, 2015.
So that was your first rap track, like out in the universe?
Kind of. No, I mean, I guess I did a thing with this Australian rap group called Curse of Dialect, who I was a big fan of back in high school into college. They were a Mush Records group, which was a great underground label. That kind of worked with, they were kind of in between the Project Blowed camp and the anti-con camp of the late 2000s. Yeah. Anyways, Curse of Dialect, I met one of the guys in Australia on tour, and we just, or actually it happened because I shouted them out on the radio in Australia, probably around 2012. And this guy contacted me like, "Yo, what's up, man? Like, you know us?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude. Like, I love you guys." And then so I did a thing with them, a song called Twisted Strangers, which is just like a really wild ass ridiculous verse that I wrote, kind of just like a wild style.
Twisted Strangers?
Yeah, that's a song called Twisted Strangers.
I'm gonna have to check that out. I haven't heard that.
It's pretty bizarre and absurd, but that group is amazing. They're like this multicultural hip hop crew from Australia, which Australia is. It's very, I don't want to get canceled in Australia.
Yeah, I actually have surprisingly a lot of Australian listeners, so watch out.
Australia has some, I mean, well, what the fuck am I talking about? America has racism problems. Australia has racism problems. And I think that crew is all built around, we are, one guy is like Macedonian, one guy is Pakistani, one guy is, you know, Maori, and all these and like Aborigine, and so it's just a crew of guys that aren't just like white Australian guys, you know, but have that mixed identity. And we're really going hard on you know, those ideas of colonialism and like what it was about, really like teaching lessons. So anyways, but also they're fucking wild as shit on stage. And we had them open for us in like 2015. And my buddy Adam was just like basically painted his body green completely, and then would get naked on stage, and like Future Islands fans are just like, what the fuck? And we're of course like, we're like backstage like dying, like these motherfuckers are getting a show. This is amazing. And but they're amazing. So anyways, shit, what was the train I was on?
Oh, yeah, we were talking about Milo introduce you to Kenny. Yeah.
So anyways, so Rory hits me up and it's like, you know, I'd love to get you on this track. And you know, I this was just like a Twitter message request or something, or maybe I can't remember how it happened, because he was in our inbox, but I guess you have to follow each other. So he reached out maybe through a message, and then I checked out his work and was like, yo, this kid is on some shit. Like, what is his deal? Like, this is beautiful,
insane,
strange poetry.
So talented. Yeah.
Because at that point it was like Toothpaste Suburb was his most recent work, which is a beautiful record. So I like follow him back, and then he's like, you want to jump on this? And I was like, sure, like hit me with the beat. Here's my email. And I listened to it, you know, and it was the full beat with Rose whole verse, and then just the open space on the back end. And listening to it, I was just like, I wrote him back like, man, I can't do this. Like, this isn't really my style. Like, it's a little too, it was too slow for me. It was beautiful. But I was just like, I don't know if I can make this work for my style. Because you know, I think being self-conscious too about your rap, if you're just like, well, if I just rap fast, it'll sound good.
Yeah.
You know, I can tongue twist and then I just sound like I'm good at this. I don't have to, you know, put in crazy work, because I was still just kind of getting my pen game back up again. So anyway, so I write Ro and say, you know, I don't know, man, I appreciate you reaching out. This beat is beautiful. Like, your verse is crazy, and I just don't think I can follow it. And this motherfucker wrote me back and said, it's all good, man. I just thought, like, you know, I listened to your shit and I just thought like you were a real writer and you could handle it. But it's all good. And I was like, what the fuck?
He was poking the bear.
This motherfucker's like, I just thought you were a real writer. It's all good. And I wrote him back like, oh shit, okay, let me take a shot at it. And then I think like an hour and a half later, I sent him the demo for that. For that verse.
An hour and a half later.
Yeah. I just like, and you know, it's a long verse, and it has there's so much good in that verse. It's really, but I had to go to a place. I had to go to a place and kind of like understand his style. And I think even at that time, you know, this is 2014, it kind of taught me something about writing in a different way. Because at that point I hadn't done a ton of features. Like, I do a lot of features now within both with Hemlock and with you know, Samuel T. Herring as a singer, and sometimes both. So it's an interesting thing. That was one of the first features. And really when he challenged
what did he say
me,
when he got it back?
he was like, yo, this is fucking fire. This is crazy.
He's like, I told you.
Yeah. He was like, I knew you could do it. But you know, that started a friendship between us. You know, Ruby Yacht put out Back at the House, and of course they have the Kenny Segal connection.
Yeah, how did that album come together? Because honestly, that album is one of my favorites.
Yeah, thanks, man. I mean, really, so yeah, like I said, probably mid 2014 is when I wrote The Souvenir. I can't remember. I think I recorded that up myself in Baltimore. But then maybe late 2014, I was out on the West Coast, and I like Rory came out. I put Rory on the guest list, and he brought out Bus Driver and Open Mike Eagle, and we like, and I was already like, well, this is so cool. You know, these are guys that I've been listening to for a long time. I really love, like, still a huge fan of them. I'm meeting Roy for the first time, And then I don't think it was that time, but maybe the next time I was in LA just on a personal travel, or he was living out in Los Angeles for a short time around 2014 into 15. And we met up and had like a freestyle writing session at his little spot. And then I met up with Kenny. And then, me and Kenny just started a friendship. And then he was, he hit me one day and said, "Hey, I'm working on some new beats and I'm wondering if you want to play with some stuff." And we wrote the first song for that album, which was Slabs of the Sunburnt West. So, I mean, the beginnings of that record were late 2014, early 2015.
Wow. So did you ever think that you would release a rap album?
I mean, I'd been talking about it for a long time. Like I was really around that time, I was already had basically a mixtape together. I just had to record it. But I also didn't really know the rules of like how you're allowed to use you're not allowed to use other artists' work, but just the idea of like, well, I've got to write these 15 beat makers and see if I can get away with putting out this free thing, or like how that all works. And it was just kind of, I mean, I still have this like unreleased Hemlock mixtape that's just called Work. And it's just, it's really just like the stuff that got me back up to speed, after taking a 5-year break.
You ever think it'll see the light of day?
Nah. But I mean, you can go on YouTube and listen to you can find a ton of songs from me performing from probably like 2012 and 2013. It was all that stuff. And some of the beats I made myself. Like I experimented a little bit with beat making that was really just like me finding breaks and loops. I wasn't adding anything on top. And I don't play any instruments. I don't know shit about production other than working up my own voice a bit, recording, engineering myself, because I do a lot of that myself. But yeah, that I think it's one of those things where at this point some of those things might feel a little played out,
Yeah.
Because I mean, even coming into hip hop, like when I was first falling in love with hip hop and rap music, the culture of hip hop, it was De La Soul and Diggable Planets and Channel Live. And then I went back, like, I was like, I want to know how this began, and so I got really into Boogie Down Productions and Bismarck.
You ever listen to like The Last Poets or anything?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, because like I said, growing up in rural North Carolina, there's not record stores or anything. Like you could maybe find something kind of cool at like a Best Buy. Like every once in a while, but we would just pawn shop hunt, and where I live here is really close to a military base and an army base. They're one's about 10 minutes down the road, the other one's about 35 minutes down the road. So because of that, you've got a lot of young people who have disposable income, buying things from all around the world, and then they sell them back at a pawn shop. And so I was finding crazy stuff. I was finding crazy stuff at pawn shops around here that changed my life. And I found Last Poets. I found Paid in Full. I found all of Bismarck. I found Prince Paul Psychoanalysis, which is like a life-changing record. Like so many things that I just found digging through crates of CDs at pawn shops, and really like informed me outside of my little small town. This is like right when the internet is a thing that you have, and I didn't have the internet at my house until like 3 years ago, or the house I'm in. Yeah, my parents like were just like, man, we don't really.
We're too busy working. We can't. We don't need Wi-Fi.
It was like, yeah. So it was always like me and my brother would come home from wherever we lived, and we would have to go to my parents' office to like check our email and stuff. Just like, I'm losing my mind.
Why did you, when you started recording rap, stop performing it?
Well, I never really had a crew. I mean, and that was the thing I was excited about with Rap Ferrara. Just when he reached out, I was kind of like felt a certain kind of kinship.
Because you are Ruby. Are you your Ruby? Is Hemlock under Ruby Yacht as a label?
It's never fun. If you're listening, Ro, I'm just waiting for you to. I just want my like secret decoder ring. No, I'm still crewless. Like there's so many crews I want to be in, but nobody will have me.
Well, I was just out in Detroit and they told me I was Bruiser Brigade, and I was
you lucky motherfucker. Hell yeah. Yeah, no, Danny Brown played our 1000th show in Cardboard, North Carolina a few years ago, and it was like one of the coolest things.
He's trying to get into stand-up now. It's funny because I was with him and Hannibal, and Hannibal is releasing a rap album, and Danny Brown's doing stand-up.
Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing. No, yeah, I mean, I've never really, the whole thing was, so when I got to college, I was really focused on art. Visual art was what I was studying in school, performance and sculpture. And then I fell in love with making music with the guys in our first band. And then the thing was, like, I went to school. I wanted to like keep making rap music. So I needed to find a producer. And then I met William, who was making really weird electronic music. And I was kind of like, I think I can rap over this. Like, because my style was weird enough at that time. I could just rap over anything. So it was like, I think I can do this. But then,
except for Milo's beat.
It was too beautiful. I needed acid. And so, yeah, so I mean, I basically just fell into a band situation, and then that just continued into Future Islands. But also,
did you think you were going to be a rapper before, like a musician or
oh yeah, I never wanted to be a singer or a front person. Like, to me, that was played out. To me, that was like been done, like been done a million times. And I think
singers of a band.
Yeah, there's so many singers. But I mean, and that's probably a little bit of why I do it the way I do it, which is to define myself. And, I do it the way I think it should be done, but also it's for my personal style. I don't think everybody should perform like me, because that doesn't really make sense. But it for what I do, it has to be done that way. But it takes so much more, like my style is more James Brown than it is, like Kurt Cobain or something, or even like Brandon Flowers from the Killers, which is maybe like more in my wheelhouse. But I'm like, what a bore! He's gonna burn me, man. The Flowers brigade.
If he's listening to this podcast, I'd be very surprised.
No, but I mean, it's just like, dude, if your only job is to wield a mic, then you better get to work. You know what I mean? It's like, get to work, do something, like create something. So I don't know. I think I just didn't. My brother was in bands. My brother's the one that introduced me to rap music, and he's actually an insane MC himself. My older brother, so he kind of brought me in the world. He only has one record, and I'm pretty sure it's still on Bandcamp. It's from years ago, but it's called Plucky Walker. You can check it out. That record is really awesome. So, but yeah, my brother he's a style wizard. I mean, because we both loved the whole, what like the West Coast brought to hip hop, and especially like the Project Blowed crew movement that really brought style. I think I always thought about it, especially within if you talk about the 90s, New York always had that strength and cool to it. And then there were motherfuckers out west that were just like, in the East, it's like, how hard are you? And then in the West, it was like, how hard can you style? And that was so cool to me.
How cool can you be while still being hard? Yeah.
And it was really just like, graffiti in words, just like crazy, just like, how does it look? Like you can see the shape of words. So I really appreciate both styles and both sides. And, coming from North Carolina, of course, you like claim East or you claim South, but it's, you're kind of like a bastard child of music.
Well, Baltimore has a really good rap scene right now. I mean, if you look at, I don't know if you know like Jay Royale or Ill Conscience, but You'll Never Know, 3 really dope Baltimore rappers. Yeah.
Damn. Okay. I'm going to write that down. I mean, I
Yeah.
feel so disconnected from the Baltimore scene. I've lived there for so many years, but I'm never there. If that
Oh,
makes
really?
sense.
That's where my mom's side of the family is. So I have a lot of connection to Baltimore.
Oh, okay. Oh,
But
nice. Nice.
do
There's some
you
old
have
like. Oh no, go ahead.
no? What were you saying?
Go ahead. Oh, I don't know. It doesn't matter.
It
You go
doesn't
ahead.
matter what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, do you have plans to make another rap album?
Yeah, I've got 2 records that I'm pretty much done with. I just need to record. And that's I hate sitting down to do. I love to create music. I love to write. And I hate to do the work of recording it. But also I don't trust anybody else to record me, so I kind of have to do it myself. And
Even now,
that's
you
the
don't
cross I
trust
bear.
anybody to record you?
Not with the hip hop. Not with the hip hop. I have a weird ass pocket, dude.
Yeah.
I got a weird pocket, and sometimes it needs a little bump. It is just like I'm embarrassed to be like, excuse me, sir, could you just move it like 0.035 milliseconds to the right? And then you're like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. It's just kind of embarrassing, but also, just like comping vocals. I'm just really particular with the rap stuff. But maybe I also haven't found the right engineer. Years ago, I jumped in a studio session with Antoine and Lil Ugly Mane.
Oh, are you kidding? Lil Ugly Mane is one of my favorites. Like,
yeah, we lived next door to each other in Baltimore years ago, and I didn't know. I knew him as a noise kid. I didn't know that he made rap music.
insane rap music.
Yeah, and then a couple years later, he started releasing the first Lil Ugly Mane stuff, and then we reconnected years after that. And I was like, man, I didn't even fucking know that you rap, Travis. Like, this shit's crazy. And
you haven't put any music out together.
Well, that's the thing, is because they had that whole crew that had the falling out. I'm not going to go into some other people's shit, but it does exist online in like a SoundCloud where basically Travis he did a Lil Ugly Mane kind of live radio thing. And I don't know if it's still up, but at some point I found the track we did, because I did an insane verse for them, because they hit me up and were like, yo, come kick it in the studio. And I went there as a writer. Like, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to write some shit. And then they were just like smoking tons of blunts and just kind of like bumping through beat packs. And I'm just like, these beats are insane. Could you please stop going forward? Like, I'm over here trying to write. And they're like, oh, what are you writing? And I'm like, I mean, you asked me in the studio. And they're like, what? So anyways, they eventually settled on something after a couple of hours. And then I wrote something and they're like, you got something, Sam? And I'm like, yeah. I've had something for like a fucking hour, motherfuckers. Like, come on.
45 beats ago, I have something.
Yeah. So I got up and spit this thing on the first take. Like, I think I kind of flattened out at the end, and I was like, I need to do it again. But I just remember taking off the headphones. They're like, what the fuck was that? That show was crazy. Because it was a bonkers verse. And then I wish I could remember it off the top of my head. But anyways, after that, all that stuff because they were making a record, and then it all just got scrapped. And I think Travis just wanted to go and, put it out. And I found it just because I was like ego surfing Hemlock Ernst to just see if I could find some weird shit. And I found that, and I was like, oh my God, it does exist. Because I was just like, when is this going to come out?
Yeah. And
it just never happened. But the whole thing was at that session, their engineer was this guy, Alexander Spit, who's a producer and MC who I really fuck with. And I just remember, I spit this verse 2 times. And the first time I fucked it up at the end, and the second time was like good enough. And then he played it back. He was like, how does it sound to you? And I'm like, what the fuck did you do? Like, this sounds absolutely perfect. And so I'm kind of also like, I probably just haven't found the right engineer. And I actually thought about hitting Alexander up again and just being like,
yeah, what are you talking about? I'm going to hit him up for you.
I don't know, man. I've got, my resistance training. I'm just like putting roadblocks up for myself. But yeah,
you ever read The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, talking about resistance?
No, but I was talking to my friend about their therapist the other day. Real talk. But no, there's a chance I'll drop 2 records next year, and there's a chance that I won't drop any. So you'll just have to wait and see. But I did just like
perform as Hemlock.
if somebody pays me a lot of money, I will in a motherfucking second. That's, I mean, I've been offered
What
some. I've
number
been
are we
offered some.
talking? Because I'll try to ask some friends for some Venmo requests.
I'm gonna need at least 10. Money will get me out of bed, to do a solo set. Yeah, that's a tricky one, and because I would need the real DJ, or I need somebody to rock with me. The thing is, okay, so the thing is, like, Future Islands has become, it was a grind and a dream that, between friends, that then became us a business success. We pay people, we have, employees that we care about, and we work also so that they can work, kind of shit. I never want Hemlock to be that way. I already have business in my life, and I already have to do certain things that I don't want to do to play into the machine of press and music. I'm doing this because I appreciate what you do, checking out your podcast and the people that you talk to.
No, that means a lot for you to do this.
Yeah, and this is not part of a press machine. I have nothing to push, and that makes me happy. That makes me feel free. You feel me? Like I'm glad that I'm not out here trying to just sell myself. It's really just about having a conversation, and because I like that. I like to have a conversation with this, but yeah, I never want Hemlock to be something where I have to do something I don't want to do to try to pay bills or change who I am in myself. Because I mean, literally, like, I'm just a dude, and a lot of times it's just what I want to be, is just like, I just want to be myself and explore through my art, and hopefully it resonates with people. I mean, that's the key, is just like, I just want to make art. And so once you get into the politics of selling like what you are, then it just closes doors. Like it closes the ability. So as long as I'm not, saying this is what I am and this is what I do, then I can be like stylist, and just like, and for that I can kind of change form, transform. And that's kind of like what I was talking about with like West Coast MCs back in the day, which was just like kind of being formless to be able to be whatever they want to be. That's what Future Islands used to be. And I think we've become, we're basically almost a legacy act. We're coming up on 20 years in a couple more years. And at that point, to me, we're just like a legacy act band. And that I think
really
that's
see yourself as that?
A cool place to be. Well, just in the sense of like the way festivals work and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like you have all the young acts that people actually care about, and then you have to book a couple old heads to bring out some of the older people. But I mean, it's kind of, and when you get Future Islands, you don't only get a great new wave post-punk band, you also get a death metal band. And that's, so we like check boxes for festivals. They're like, yeah, we can get both with this one. Nah, I'm fucking around, but yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with understanding that with that understanding of like, it's not ever gonna pop like it did in 2014. It wasn't even supposed to pop in 2014, man. Like I said, I was just about to be 30 years old. Like, I had given up on that idea of ever being in the spotlight, and it felt good. Like, I finally had shucked this idea of like, you got to make it before you're 30. You got to make it. And then I was just like, dude, we're eating, we're paying our rent, we're doing this. I got new shoes. like I have a new pair of shoes. Yeah. Like, yeah, I don't have holes in my pants for the first time. And then we do that, do that performance that then goes viral. And then there's a spotlight. I mean, it was really very surprising for us.
Did you know that it was did you know, like, going into it, or while you were doing it?
No, not at all. Not at all. It was just, I was really focused on not falling over. And if you watch that video again, check for, it's right before I sing my first lyric. I always keep the mic in my left hand, and in my right hand, I do a quick touch to my belt buckle. And what I'm actually doing is touching the top of my zipper, because I'm thinking in my head, oh shit, did I zip my pants off. Like
That's
if
the
you watch
first-
it again, yeah, just watch it because it's just like I do a sway to the, I think I do a sway to the left, a sway to the right, and then my hand just goes to my belt buckle as I pull the mic up, and I'm like, oh shit, okay, cool, it's up, and then I sing the first line. I was just like, oh man. So I was really focused on not fucking it up, and I wasn't sure if I was going to do the big growl at the end until it happened, and I'm glad I did because it tore people's brains out of their heads. But the fact is, like, you know, that performance wasn't even us at our rawest. That wasn't even us. Like, I mean, it actually probably did better because it was pulled back a little bit, you know.
Because when I saw you in Boston, you went all out, and I don't know where that is compared to other shows. I'm excited to see you in Providence.
Boston was a great show. Boston was an awesome show, and I did one of my best slides ever. I don't know if you caught it, but when we do long flight, I do this dive across the stage. Well, you know, when it's a wooden stage, and on that tour, like I was testing every night, like I wonder how far I'll go tonight. And so you just like take a few more steps back to do a cross diagonal dive from like the back edge of the drum riser to the front, like wedge across the other side. And that night, I think I slid like 15, 20 yards, and I actually had to pull up short because that stage was so slick. I almost flew off the front, and I was so proud. I was like so proud of myself.
I do remember that, but I'm happy you didn't fly off the stage.
Yeah, but like, yeah, those are that show was really great, just really memorable. So that whole tour was great.
I'm excited to see.
Oh
you
yeah,
play.
Yeah, that's coming up. I hope everything goes down. Like we're supposed to do.
You're going to Europe, right?
Oh yeah, we're supposed to start a European tour February 21st, and yeah, that's so 2 months out. I just hope everything is. I don't know what's going on with this new variant and shit.
Yeah, everything's up in the air, man.
Everything's up in the air.
Thank you for your time. I don't want to take up any more of your day, but I really do appreciate you coming on and talking. It was a real honor.
Man, it's a pleasure. It's always good to meet another Sam. I feel like there's always an instant kinship. Like Sam, they're just nice people. There's never like a tough guy asshole named Sam.
You can't be tough named Sam, not at all.
Nah,
you also can't have a good hairline. I realized that.
Oh no. The truth comes out. I am allowed to be mad at my parents.
I know. My dad is like, I'll buy you a hairline. I was like, you never paid child support.
Oh shit.
But all right,
man. Well,
thank you so much.
Yeah, man, you have a good day.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
and I'll see you hopefully in Rhode Island.
Yeah, we'll connect up. Like let me give me a holler, and we'll grab a beer or a cup of coffee or some shit.
I would love that. Thank you very much.
Awesome, man.
Have a good rest of your day.